So I've got a scene window, I've got an enemy controller, I've got a model placeholder. When I click on the enemy controller, it's here. My character is actually back here. I've already emptied out the geometry for the capsule of the enemy controller. Took out that mesh. I've taken all my Blender exports, FBX exports, and I put them in a folder similar to what we have from our previous encounters. I have a main FBX for the T-pose. Again, it's the character with the gun in its hand, T-posed. And then I have the shoot, jog, and idle animations. I'll bring the whole folder in because it's also holding, obviously, my materials. So it'll be called T-car Unity. Okay, and I can kind of go back into Unity and just stay in Unity now. Okay, now I'll double click, and it's kind of similar to what we're used to, and I'll pick the model. Okay, and so when we click on the name, I've got the idle, this is the jog, this is the shooting, and this is the T-pose one. Now the T-pose one is the one that we like the most. I mean, the materials are all in there. I don't need to see them. There's actually an animation because when I rendered it out, I didn't render out the animation. There's no animation there, which is good. But that's the lovely, and I want to make an avatar from this guy. That's going to be our model, and that's going to be our guy. Okay. So now I have an avatar, and it's called T-car gun T-pose avatar. But Unity, you don't put the avatar on, you put the prefab on, which is this, to your model, and it didn't put it as a child of the model. I want it there. Okay, so now I have that and I have that. And it's a prefab. And because I've tied it under a controller, it's put the Animator Controller in there. And yeah, it took the avatar that I have, and there it is. Now, as we know, we have to make an Animator Controller, so I'm just going to do it right here. I know we've seen it put in its own folder. As long as you know where it is. Call it T-car Animator Controller. And we know it. And there, it's made in the background. There it is. Okay, and I'll zoom in on it in a moment. I'll save everything. Actually, I'll save as my other file too. When I first try to bring things in, I'll just call it, okay, chapter 41. So this is kind of what we're used to seeing. Now, so got the avatar. Now we have to take the Animator Controller, put it over. Great. Okay. Now we're good to go, right? Pretty much. Now we know I want to start with the idle. That's this one. It says idle down here. I'm going to open it up, and it's all the materials and stuff are all there and all that stuff and everything, but I don't care about that. I really only care about the animation. And I know it's the idle animation because this was the FBX that said idle. Unfortunately, from Blender, it kept it sort of the generic name. So I want to make it easier for myself. I'm going to rename it idle. And when I click on it here, it says, hey, do you really want to do that? I say, yeah, sure. And there it is down here. Okay. Now we still want to edit it because we have to look at the rigging of it. And actually, um, we want it to loop. Okay. Because when it plays, it's going to loop. Basically, the idle animation is supposed to idle until it gets interrupted with a new animation when the character either starts running or shooting. Okay? So you do want it looping. Of course, I have to apply that. And the other thing we want is it's going to be tied to the avatar. You know? And that's our T-pose avatar. And again, we got to apply that too. Okay. So now, if I will look at this, I mean, it's pretty good. He's idling. And the only message there in my console, Unity's trying to do some cleanup. Just basically saying, hey, you really don't have a way of sort of when this character leaves the game state or when the game state finishes. You know, it's kind of just sitting there. It doesn't get removed. It's trying to do good housekeeping. Okay. But the moral of the story is now we've got the idle animation that we can put into our Animator Controller. So that's good. Okay. And now, this one is the jogging one. Okay, and I'll just open it up and say, well, you know, I really want to look at the animation clip for it. First of all, I want to change the name to jog. Okay, you know, and then I click on it and it'll say, well, do you really want to do that? Yeah. And because it used to say armature action and now it says jog, jog is down here. And I've selected it and I'm going to edit it some more because I need to remind it we're doing a generic rig, but we are applying the avatar. And the avatar, of course, that we're applying is our T-car, T-pose, T-car gun, T-pose avatar, you know, that we created from there. Okay, and of course you say apply. Now, same problem with the, it's gonna, you know, it loops here. Okay, this is the problem. It loops here and you think, oh, this is great, it's gonna loop, right? Well, not if loop's not turned on. Loop the animation, right? Loop the time. So it's going to play and then it's going to loop. And of course we want to apply that. So now we're happy. And I'll test all these in a moment. And if something's wrong, we'll just fix it, right? That's the way it goes in Unity and everywhere. Things don't always work the first time, but if they don't come out, you'll fix it. Okay, now I picked the shooting, FBX. And that's the shooting animation. Sure enough, he's shooting all right. That's it. Okay. Now I want to edit this clip. Okay, I'm still working in here. See? Keep this in mind. I'm working. Our focus is down here, you know, from the import sort of settings. I want to call it shoot. That's the first thing. Okay. I mean, I definitely want it looping. Okay, and I'm going to apply that. Okay. Now I'm going to click on it. It's going to say, well, you want to really call it shoot? Like, I did it. I don't know why. Didn't ask me this time. The rig is going to be obviously from our avatar. And we got to apply that too. And sometimes it asks me if I want, but anyway. So the shoot's there. Okay. Again, I want to edit it. I just want to see it. Rig. Generic copy from another avatar. Materials, we don't care. Is it looping? It should be. It's called shoot. It's looping. Okay. So that should be good. So yeah, there it is. I mean, that's the one. And I'll bring it here. Now, right now, the focus is the shoot animation clip from the project folder. I want the focus to be my Animator Controller. So I have to pick my prefab that knows to take for the animator. The controller is the Animator Controller, and the avatar is my avatar, the T-pose avatar. By clicking here in the hierarchy, I know for sure that my focus is drawn to here, so that now when I go to the animation window, my animations down here are drawn from the controller, not from the project folder, not from this. Okay, so this is now referring to these. Okay, and because I've dragged all three in, when I do the unwrap to look down, see there's idle, and there's jog, and there's shoot. Okay, the three that are here. And now when I preview, look at that. We've got it just the way we would hope it would be, that I'm now previewing from the, Animator Controller version, I guess you could say, and now he's idle, and guess what? He loops. Okay, and we see that up here. I don't know if we do really. I thought maybe the blue line would go across, and it loops. Okay, that's fine. It's not like it's anyway. Maybe it doesn't show, but that's what we would want. Okay, and now I don't pick this or this. It doesn't really help. I have to pick from down here. Still on my character here. Okay, my focus is the prefab, and then I go into here, and so now if I want to preview the jog, well, I have to turn it on and play it. Okay, and it's looping. Okay, which is right. We want that. I mean, whenever he's running, he should be running. Okay, and then of course setting up the rules. You can see he does that little bounce. Okay, and now let's just look at the shooting one. Of course, you turn on the preview, and this is what we were all excited to have. All right, a shooting gun, which of course now we can pair our fire point to somewhere in there later on. I go again, it's giving me a message in the console. It's basically saying, hey, when this sort of these game objects kind of finish, if you are implementing this, cleanup, that base cleanup is called if overriding the cleanup method. Well, it's basically kind of like we haven't told the game, what's happening when these characters are kind of finished, or it's holding them in the memory. I think it's basically that kind of a thing. We haven't programmed in any sort of fail safes or so yeah, so I mean, this is if it's an error that you can clear, then it's not a life-breaking error. If it's a red error that you can't clear, then you're in trouble. So that brings us to a stage where we have it exactly with this character that we made ourselves in Blender, okay, and rigged ourselves in Blender and animated ourselves in Blender, and I can play, and he'll chase me, but he won't shoot. He'll probably just stay idle as he runs, because Or maybe he'll go back to T-pose. I mean, I'll see. I mean, there's my game window down here. I have to kind of, it's from my point of view. Okay. And then it's always fun to do this. And then, of course, you just want to make sure nothing goes too wrong. And yeah, we'll just find out, right? Break the internet. Okay, well, he's coming at me. Is he going to shoot? He's trying to shoot. And of course, he's going back to his idle. I mean, that's what we did, right? That's what we had. So, right. Okay, so yeah, it's working. I mean, I just have to now do the next part, which is, you know, that we know from our materials. So that's it, guys. It's working. Again, if you kind of have the focus here and, you know, you preview your animations, I mean, it's just like we saw with the Kenny character. That's idle. It's working. That's gonna, when I, you know, set it up for the with the transitions, you know, to change to the running state, you know, and with our coding, it's gonna do that. And you know, basically you want to make sure that each clip is supposed to do, and then when he's going to be shooting, it's going to switch to that, and we know that he stands and shoots. You know, and that's not bad, right? I mean, hey, we did that ourselves. I mean, you know, you can imagine that a lot of times he'll be off in the distance kind of looking at you, shooting, and depending how fast you've got your guns going with the shots, you know, but that's it. It's working really well. Okay, so this, you know, with the character we made ourselves in Blender with a gun in its hand, textured or materialized it, we've animated it, we've made our own run cycle, idle and shooting. We've done it all ourselves, and we've reached this point. Hey, hopefully this helps you if this is the kind of thing you want to do.